Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's November the 5th. Today was a little bit better trading day. We had a pretty good move down, and now we got a pretty good move going up. It's probably going to end up being a range type day. Here's what I'm showing as the highs up here. For now, that's probably our target, I would guess, unless we can't get any higher here and we turn down. We really got a little resistance right here. You can see that was support, and then it's acting as resistance, and now it's still acting as resistance. So we could turn down from here, and this could be the range. But regardless, we had enough movement to the downside and then back to the upside to make money today. This was a little bit confusing right in here. I'll talk about this area, but plenty of chances to make some money right here. Um, and then if you caught any of these up moves, there were some good moves here, and you should have probably had some runners on a couple of these as well. So, but anyway, there's actually another entry right here too that you could have taken um, that I didn't mark. If you didn't enter here, you could have entered here. But let's talk about the trades. I'm going to move through this a little quicker today. I'm ready to get out of here. It's lunchtime, and I've got some errands, some other things that I've got to take a look at, take care of today. So I'm going to move on through this and talk about the trades I saw. You could have seen this down move a couple of different ways. Either way, you still get to the same result. We kind of had a little channel that looked like it was working down. It doesn't really hold prices very neatly, though. Um, at least not like that. It might have been more like that, but you got the break and then a move to a new low. So you might have seen it like that. Um, but it really looks more like a spiking channel to me. And then we got a little overshoot here. And then we had this is a reversal pattern. Notice this higher double bottom and then the little trap and then the move up. I mean, that's that's what you expect to see. This is just strong support across here. And we got below it on this move down, and then but we couldn't get back below it. Then we had the little trap, the one tick trap. That's a great setup. So chance to go long right there, and second entry long. But let's talk about the trades. The first one I saw this morning was a little bit before 8 o'clock, and I was really wanted to make this one green, but the thing is you got this big move down, you got a first entry long, a pullback, a second entry long, and then you got this possible trend line right here. But even if you didn't, if you drew this line off these two swings right here and you bring it up and you start to see that resistance right there, then you got to be thinking, hey, this is probably a trend channel here. And plus I had this one in place that I was looking at that I drew off these two lows. So you kind of had confluence there from a couple of different things, and then you have this big bearish reversal bar here. It's two tries to go higher. It's a failed second entry, so there's a trap. So I like that to the short side. Easy scalp. They came back and got the runners if you entered with a stop. Even if you entered with a limit order, just maybe at the top, you wouldn't have gotten filled any other way. They still came back and got them. But then you just got another chance to go short right here. You got this little trading range. It's a failed breakout. So it's two tries to test this area right here. The trend is down. It looks like we got a channel here too that you can see. And so another easy scalp, and then guess what? It comes back. Then you get a second entry short again up here at these highs where this resistance is. This one came back and was a little bit questionable. If you entered with a stop, how did that, 56, you still got out even if you entered with a stop. And you couldn't have, the only way you entered with a limit order was if it pulled back there. So on my chart, even with a stop, you should have gotten out of that trade. And then you just get a double top right there, another chance to get in. And this one I almost made green as well. But it's two legs back to the EMA basically. If you're counting off the highs, it's a second entry short. It did come back again, so if you didn't enter here, you definitely should have entered here. And it took a little while, but man, it was off to the races, and you could have ridden this all the way down to the low side of the channel. And you might have, excuse me, I'm fighting a little bit of a cough here. You might have considered that a break right there on its own. Let me just move these out of the way. it's, you know, you got to close outside. It's not very strong. You closed outside it. So this could be good enough for your break right here. But even if it's not, I'm going to show you this pattern here. I just talked about it a minute ago. Let me get these back where they were. Notice the new low, then guess what? We come up, we pull back, make a higher low and a higher high, and then we make a double bottom. You might have thought about going long right there, but that's really risky because usually you'll get two legs of correction. But when we tried to go lower again and trapped and turned up, I was looking to get long above that bar, but then it gave me a little better entry with that bar, and that just tested that line again and held. So when it turned up there, that was it took a little bit to get going. It was slow, but you know, it's been slow lately. And then I like this one because it's a second entry long, and then you get a failed second entry short. It's a little more aggressive because you're up here at these highs where this resistance is, and so it's a little more risky, but you know, buying this market, you can't hardly go wrong with, especially on traps lately. And it took a little while. It went a good bit higher, and then you get this little trend. And notice we break it and we pull back and test it, and we test this trend channel, and it goes higher. And so I like that entry. It was a little more aggressive because it's the overlap right there. So I would have definitely tried to use a limit order here at the top, maybe even a tick in. You could have gotten filled up to a tick back into that bar. But even a stop, you know, if you want to be aggressive, you could use there. It would have worked. And my guess is if we can get through this area, we'll probably go up and test this high. And we could continue trending higher. I don't know, but I would look for my targets to be up here somewhere. But a lot of times when you get these uneven moves, let me show you this, I would be looking for a possible target. That's your first leg up, and then you get the correction, and you get this bigger leg. So this leg may only be like this. And look where that target is, right at the top of that trend channel. So I would be leery about going long above that area right there unless you come back and get a really good setup off the trend line. So just keep that in mind. You don't get a chance to show that little example right there, but that's what happens a lot of times when your first leg is smaller and then you get a bigger middle leg, or the first leg is bigger and you get a smaller middle leg, then it's usually going to be an equal move up here that's equal to this one. And we are really struggling at these prices to go higher. So, and that's what I saw today. Somebody wrote back and said it was confusing to them because, we got this channel going down and we really never made a new retest low. But, this could have been good enough to be considered a break right here. Plus you get the overshoot. Now overshoot doesn't always mean anything, but a lot of times when you get an overshoot like that, and you may not get a retest. Sometimes the overshoot means the market is kind of, oversold itself to the downside or overbought itself to the upside, and there's just not enough selling after that to come back and get a retest. And they use these to trap people as well, run it down there. And but look at this reversal pattern. Notice this new low, lower high, higher high, then an equal higher high, and then the little trap, so it held. So you got this new low and you tested it twice, and guess what? Boom, off it goes. And that's a great setup there. I circled this one in lavender. I didn't talk about this one really. This looked like a great second entry short here, especially the fact that it broke higher first and then came out the low side. So if you got trapped in here, which could have happened, when this thing turned down a second time and closed right there, you got to understand that's strong support, and there's a good chance this thing could reverse out of there. I'd just exit that trade. Take what it'll give you. You got a chance to get out with a couple of ticks, with at least a tick a couple of times, and at the worst you should have lost a tick or two there. But that's a good example of where you just got to exit, because I like that setup personally, and I liked going short there because they had them trapped, but all they were doing was, there's too much buying right there, and you just couldn't get through there. So you got to consider taking a loss there or exiting with what it'll give you without letting this happen to you. So, don't risk it above that high right there on, when you've had an overshoot and a possible break or even a multiple test of a support area, because the odds are this is kind of like a little trading range is what it is, and it like failed out the top side, then failed out the bottom, and it's really just a two-legged correction back to test that support and the EMA. And so I hope that makes sense to you. But that's a classic reversal pattern. That's what they look like. You start to get a higher high than the previous swing highs. Notice how even this high was higher than that one and back as high as this one. And then you make a higher low and then another higher high that's higher than that one and higher than these. That's telling you something. The buyers are coming back. And so be leery be very careful of going short. But they do that a lot of times to trap people in order to take it the other way. But in this case, they trapped everybody to the short side, and off it went. And it's easy to get tricked by something like that. Not much you can do other than take what it'll give you or take a small loss and move on and make it back on these next couple of trades. And that's really all I saw today. It looks like there's a failed second entry short right there too now. And we're still following the trend line. I'd even mark that one. I don't know if it's quite got its scalp yet. I definitely would have used a limit order to enter this one if I could because of all that overlap. But it's a trap, and so my guess is we're headed up here to the upper side of this channel again. And, somebody asked me, I'll talk about this real quick and then I'm going to wrap it up. But somebody asked me about wedges on the website. Why don't you mark wedges and triangles? Well, they're there on the chart, but really most wedges, all they are trading ranges like right here that have failed breakouts or little small trends within the wedge. And, you probably could, you can see these things all over. You could probably draw a wedge right here like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's really a trend line there or a trading range. And hopefully you can see the trading range. It's right there. And if you know the range rules, you're going to be more apt to trade this properly than trying to trade. I mean, how do you trade that wedge? 9 times out of 10, they'll break out and fail and go the other way. You don't know what's going to happen when they come out of there. But if you know our range rules and you know our trend rules, then you have a better understanding of what to expect. And really what there is here is there's a little trend working up right there. You can see that little trend working up right there, and you get the break and a retest, and then it takes off. So you don't need but if you're looking at that like a wedge, which, most wedges would probably teach you to draw it like that right there, you could still probably come up with some rules that might work for that. But, you don't need that. So that's why we don't teach that stuff. Even wedges, basically all they are is ranges and trends within a range. And you can see how that trade is headed straight to the upper side. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that, So I hope that answers the question about the wedges and the triangles. You can find any kind of pattern you want on here, but if it doesn't tell you anything or give you any specific knowledge about how to trade that market, then it doesn't really help you. And one thing that I've noticed is I used to read every book. I've probably read most of the most popular trading books. I've read all that stuff, and I'm amazed now that I can read this price chart. I'm amazed at how much stuff is taught out there that is considered the gospel in trading that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. Doesn't mean nothing. It's wrong. In fact, some of it's 100% wrong. And, I didn't know that until I learned how to read a price chart. Now that I understand how to read prices, one thing you need to understand is this price charts speak a language. It's just like trying to learn any foreign language. It's difficult. It takes hard work. It takes study. But once you understand the language that this thing is speaking to you, And sometimes the more fluent you get with it, the better you'll get with your trading. But it's just like any language, sometimes you'll misinterpret things. Sometimes there'll be words you don't understand. So sometimes you'll make mistakes and not understand exactly what the chart is telling you, just like you don't quite understand the language somebody's speaking to you. But as you get better and you get more fluent with it, this thing will tell you what it's doing if you learn how to listen to it and understand it. And it's not rocket science, but it's like any language, it takes a while to learn it. You can't just, I mean, think about, some people can't even learn another language, but most of the time it's because they don't spend enough time studying it and immersing themselves in trying to learn it. And you got to do it every day. And trading is the same way. Learning to understand the language of this chart. You got to be there every day. You got to do it every day. And if you're doing it only once or twice a week, it's probably going to take you even longer, but it can be done. But it doesn't come easy. So I hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to wrap it up for the day. Hope you had a good trading day. Much better than yesterday. A lot more trades here in a lot less time. And that's the way the markets are. So hope you had a good trading day. If you're still trading, hope you continue to have a good trading day, and we'll be back to do it again tomorrow. But this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next.